There is a place on the western edge of India where the land ends and the eternal begins, where the Arabian Sea stretches unbroken for thousands of miles to Antarctica, a fact inscribed in stone at this very spot since ancient times. This place is Somnath, one of the 12 sacred Jyotirlingas of Lord Shiva, a temple that has been destroyed, looted, and razed to the ground. Not once, not twice, but 17 times over the span of 1,000 years. And yet it stands today. This is not just the story of a building. This is the story of a civilization's soul, its faith, its memory, and its refusal to be erased. The name Somnath means Lord of the Moon, from Som, the Sanskrit name for the moon god Chandra, and Nath, meaning Lord or Master. To understand why the moon would need a lord, we must enter the world of the Puranas, the ancient Hindu scriptures where gods, planets, and mortals are bound together by an unbreakable web of karma and consequence. According to the Shiva Purana and the Bhagavata Purana, the moon god Chandra was married to 27 daughters of the great sage Daksha. These daughters represented the 27 nakshatras, the lunar mansions of Vedic astrology. But Chandra was deeply devoted to only one of them, Rohini, the most beautiful. He neglected his other wives. They wept. They went to their father Daksha in grief. Daksha warned Chandra once, twice, and a third time. The moon god did not listen. And so the great sage pronounced a curse. Chandra would wither and fade. The moon, which had shone with full brilliance, began to diminish, losing its glow a little more with each passing day. This, the ancient texts say, was the birth of the lunar cycle we still observe today. The myth is both astronomical and deeply moral. The waxing and waning of the moon is explained through the lens of dharma, of righteousness and its consequences. The ancients were encoding the cosmos in story. Devastated and desperate, Chandra came to the sacred Prabhas Tirtha, the shining pilgrimage on the western coast of India, at the mouth of 3 rivers, the Saraswati, the Hiran, and the Kapila. Here, the moon god immersed himself in the waters and prayed to Lord Shiva, the destroyer and redeemer, with 100 million repetitions of the Mrityunjaya mantra, the great prayer for liberation from death. Shiva, moved by the devotion, appeared. He could not fully undo Daksha's curse, such is the power of a sage's word, but he offered a boon. Chandra would wax for 15 days and wane for 15 days. Life and light would return, then recede, then return again. An eternal cycle. In gratitude, Chandra installed a Jyotirlinga here, a column of infinite light, the supreme form of Shiva, and built a temple of gold to enshrine it. He called it Somnath, the Lord of the Moon. In Hindu theology, the Jyotirlinga, literally the linga of light, represents the infinite, formless nature of Shiva, the god who cannot be contained in any image. The scriptures speak of 12 Jyotirlingas across India, each a site where Shiva appeared spontaneously in a column of blazing light. From Kedarnath in the Himalayas to Rameswaram in the deep south, from Varanasi in the east to Somnath in the west. Of the 12, Somnath is listed first. It is Adi, the primal, the original, the alpha of the sacred geography of Shaivism. According to Puranic scholar Pandit Ramesh Shastri, you must understand, for a Hindu, visiting Somnath is not tourism, it is meeting God face to face. The Skanda Purana says that bathing at Prabhas Tirtha liberates the soul from the cycle of rebirth. This is not metaphor. For hundreds of millions of people, this is as real as gravity. The land around Somnath is called Prabhas Kshetra, the field of radiance. It is mentioned in some of the oldest texts of the Indian subcontinent. This is also, according to the Mahabharata, the land where Lord Krishna, the 8th avatar of Vishnu, breathed his last. After the great Kurukshetra war, Krishna came to Prabhas and sat beneath a tree. A hunter named Jara, mistaking his foot for a deer, shot him with an arrow. And here, in this most sacred of places, the age of the gods ended. Separating mythology from history is a delicate task when it comes to Somnath. The temple existed at the crossroads of both for millennia. Historians believe a significant temple structure existed at Prabhaspatan as early as the 7th century CE, possibly earlier. The Gurjara Pratihara kings are believed to have built or significantly expanded it. By the 10th century CE, under the patronage of the Solanki kings of Gujarat, Somnath was described by Arab and Persian travelers as one of the most magnificent temples in the entire world. According to historian Professor K.M. Shrimali, the Arab geographer al-Biruni, writing in the early 11th century, describes Somnath as a coastal temple of extraordinary wealth. He mentions thousands of villages donated for its maintenance, hundreds of priests, dancing girls, and musicians employed in its service. It was essentially a city unto itself. The original Somnath was said to have been built in stages, first in gold by the moon god Chandra himself, then in silver by the sun god Surya, then in wood by Lord Krishna, and finally in stone by King Bhimdev of the Solanki dynasty. By the 10th century CE, the stone temple rose in the Nagara style of North Indian temple architecture, a soaring, curvilinear spire called the Shikhara, rising above a sanctum that housed the sacred Jyotirlinga. The temple complex included mandapas, ornate pillared halls for worship, assembly, and music. The walls were carved with intricate sculptures of gods, celestial beings, and scenes from the epics. Accounts speak of a mysterious lamp, a perpetual flame that burned within the sanctum, its light reflected in jewels encrusted in the ceiling, so that the interior shimmered like a starlit night. A golden chain was said to hang across the entrance, hung with bells, so that when the sea wind blew, and in Prabhas it always blows, the temple sang. In the year 1025 CE, a name entered Indian history that would echo for 1,000 years: Mahmud of Ghazni. Sultan Mahmud was the ruler of the Ghaznavid Empire, a powerful military state based in what is now Afghanistan. The fame of Somnath had spread far beyond India's borders. Arab traders and travelers had carried tales of its unimaginable riches across the Islamic world. When Mahmud decided to march on Somnath, it was the ultimate prize. According to medieval historian Dr. Irfan Habib, the accounts of this raid come from multiple Persian chronicles, including Al-Utbi, the court historian of Mahmud himself. They must be read carefully. They are written by admirers of Mahmud, men who wish to glorify him, but even filtered through this lens, what they describe is an act of extraordinary destruction. Mahmud led an army of 30,000 cavalry through the Thar Desert in the depths of winter, a feat of military audacity. Thousands of Hindu warriors gathered to defend the temple. The Persian chronicles record that 50,000 defenders died fighting Mahmud's forces on the beaches and in the town. Mahmud entered the temple. He broke the Jyotirlinga with his own hands, using his iron mace. The accounts describe him ordering the floor pried open to reveal hidden treasure vaults beneath. Gold, silver, jewels accumulated over centuries of offerings. He looted an estimated 20 million gold dinars worth of treasure, the equivalent of billions of dollars in today's currency. Then he set the temple on fire. As per the historian Romila Thapar, this was plunder in the name of power, using religion as its banner, a pattern as old as civilization itself. This is a difficult but necessary point. The suffering it caused was real, and the response to that grief, the rebuilding, was also genuine. Both truths must be held together. Mahmud's raid was only the beginning. In the centuries that followed, Somnath was attacked and destroyed again and again by successive waves of armies from the northwest. In 1299 CE, Alauddin Khalji's general Ulugh Khan invaded Gujarat and attacked the temple. In 1395 CE, Muzaffar Shah of the Gujarat Sultanate destroyed it once more. In 1451 CE, it was Mahmud Bagada's turn. And in 1701, Emperor Aurangzeb, in the twilight of the Mughal Empire, ordered the demolition of whatever remained and the construction of a mosque on the site. 17 destructions in roughly 1,000 years. The number is almost incomprehensible. Archaeologist Dr. Bhupendra Trivedi says, "What is remarkable is not the destruction. That is the story of power. What is remarkable is what happens between the destructions. The temple is rebuilt." Within decades of Mahmud's raid, the Solanki king Bhimdev I began the reconstruction of Somnath. The new temple, completed by his successors, was described as an extraordinary achievement of Gujarati temple architecture. The Solanki period, 10th to 13th centuries CE, represents the golden age of architecture in Gujarat. The builders of Somnath were the same craftsmen who would create the stunning Sun Temple at Modhera and the Jain marble temples of Mount Abu, among the most exquisite temples on earth. This rebuilding was an act of defiance, of cultural assertion. "We are still here," the stone said. "We still remember. We still build." By the time the British arrived and consolidated control over India, Somnath was in ruins. The site was a shadow of its former self, a few crumbling walls and broken columns on a windswept coast. According to historian Romila Thapar, the gates episode reveals how Somnath had become, by the 19th century, a symbol rather than simply a temple. Every power that wanted to claim legitimacy over India, whether Islamic sultanates, Mughal emperors or the British, felt compelled to define themselves in relation to Somnath. In 1842, a debate erupted in the British Parliament that would reveal the deep anxieties of empire. Governor-General Lord Ellenborough issued a proclamation announcing that the famous sandalwood gates of Somnath, believed to have been carried off by Mahmud of Ghazni, were being brought back from Afghanistan as a trophy of British victory over Kabul. And when the gates arrived, historians pointed out they were almost certainly not the original gates at all. They were replicas, or gates from a different era entirely. On the 13th of November 1947, just 3 months after India's independence, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the Iron Man of India and the nation's first deputy prime minister, stood at the ruins of Somnath. He had come to see for himself what remained of the great temple. What he found moved him deeply. A broken, neglected site, used as a stable by the Nawab of Junagadh's horses. Patel made a declaration that would become historic. The temple of Somnath would be rebuilt. A free India would restore what centuries of invasion had taken away. K.M. Munshi, First Minister for Food and Agriculture, Sardar Patel said to us, "This is a task for free India. The reconstruction of Somnath will be a symbol that the spirit of this nation cannot be crushed. It has survived everything. It will survive this too." On the 11th of May, 1951, India's first president, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, performed the consecration ceremony of the new Somnath Temple. It was a moment of extraordinary national symbolism. Dr. Prasad, a deeply devout Hindu, said in his address, "Somnath is a symbol of the faith of the people of India. No matter what happened, the temple has been rebuilt. It will always be rebuilt." The Jyotirlinga was reinstated in the sanctum. The lamps were lit, the bells rang again, and from the tower above the Arabian Sea, a flag flew over free India. The current Somnath Temple is a masterpiece of Chalukya-style Hindu architecture. The Shikhara, the main spire, soars 155 feet above the ground, visible for miles out to sea and across the coastal plain. The exterior walls are covered in intricate stone carvings, deities, celestial beings, narrative panels from the Puranas. Each carving is the work of craftsmen from families who have practiced this art for generations. Within the sanctum, the Jyotirlinga stands in an atmosphere of incense, flower garlands, and the sound of continuous Vedic chanting. Outside the temple, facing the sea, stands the famous Ban Stamba, the arrow pillar, an ancient marker that reads, in Sanskrit, "There is no land between this point and the South Pole." It is a reminder that this place stands at the very edge of the known world. Every day begins before dawn with the Mangala Arti at 6 in the morning. The first light of day greets the Lord. Then, throughout the day, there are 6 artis, ceremonies of light and offering. The last, the Shayan Arti, puts the Lord to rest at midnight. This rhythm has continued without a single day's break for decades now. Millions of pilgrims visit each year. During major festivals, Mahashivratri, Shravan month, the numbers swell dramatically. The atmosphere on the beach at dawn, with the sea wind carrying the sound of the temple bells, is something pilgrims describe as transcendent. Beneath and around the current temple, archaeological excavations over the decades have uncovered remarkable finds. The foundations of older temples, ancient coins, carved architectural fragments, and inscriptions that help piece together the history of the site across 2 millennia. The museum at Somnath houses many of these artifacts, allowing visitors to see, in stone and metal, the physical evidence of everything the temple has endured and survived. What does Somnath mean? For the devout Hindu pilgrim, it means the Lord of the Moon, the direct presence of Shiva, the most sacred of all Jyotirlingas, where the divine can be felt as surely as the sea wind on the face. For the historian, it means a living archive of Indian civilization, a site where, carved in the record of construction and destruction, the great forces of medieval and modern history played out. For the student of mythology, it means the place where the moon came to repent and was forgiven, where a god wept and a god listened, and from that ancient exchange, the rhythm of the lunar cycle was born. And for India as a nation, it means something still more complex, a wound that is also a source of strength, a history of suffering that became, in the hands of the people who refused to give up, a monument to endurance. According to philosopher Dr. Devdutt Patnaik, the remarkable thing about Somnath is not that it was destroyed. Many sacred places have been destroyed and never rebuilt. What is remarkable is the compulsion to rebuild, again and again and again. That is not mere stubbornness. That is a statement about what a civilization believes is worth preserving, what is sacred, what cannot be allowed to die. 17 times the axes fell, the fires burned, and the stones were scattered. 17 times and more, hands came to gather the stones. The moon still rises over the Arabian Sea. The waves still crash at the base of the Barn Stamba, and at the edge of India, where the land meets the endless ocean, the bells of Somnath still ring. They have always rung, and they always will. Thanks for watching. For more such interesting videos, do like and subscribe and keep watching Beyond Horizon.